afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Had to wake them up after the after lunch nap. I know this is prime time, but you are in for a good treat. As many of you may know, today is our first day kicking off the Lifelong Learning Series. We had our Max Carter presentation this morning, but for our Armchair Travels, we are kicking it off with no one other than Gertrude Beal and her travels to Ireland. So please help me in welcoming her. Can you hear all right? Okay, good.
Can't sleep over here.
This is a Quaker Pilgrimage to Ireland, 2000 and 2018, which makes me an expert, right? I'm sure there are many of you who've been many more times than I, but this is my take on it. This trip is in memory of the 2000 trip of the 3 people that were on the trip that were residents here at Friends' Homes. Emily Bagley, my mother Margaret Beal, and Jean Gordon. You may have known those people. And on the 2018 trip, Charlie and Sarah White were on that trip, and everybody remembers Charlie and Sarah. And Chan is here, Charlie's brother. Maybe Sarah has some relatives here too. Aha, good, good. Now, here are the current residents of Friends' Homes who were on these trips. Charlie Cameron, I think he's here somewhere. Carol Cothran, are you here somewhere? Rudy and Lou Gore, I know are here. Ellen and Elwood Parker are here. Yoshiko Parkhurst is in nursing, but she was on the earlier trip. Diana Powell, are you here? And Bill Rayford, he's in nursing over at West. David and Jean Beals led the trip in 2000. I hope they might be here today. David is the much-loved emeritus pastor of New Garden Friends Meeting, 42 years. David and Jean led pilgrimages to England, Scotland, and Wales in 1994, 1996, and 1998. And in 2000, he added the Republic of Ireland. I was pleased to be on the 1994 and 2000 trips with my mother, and also by myself on the 1998 trip. And Kate Hood is here, and we were roommates on that trip. Much of the 2018 trip was based on the 2000 trip that David took. And I'm pleased to have Ed Tweedy here today with us. He and his late wife, Pat, led the 2018 trip. They had lived in Ireland, so they really knew the place. In addition, he has brought some coffee table books to share and some brochures for as long as they last. So help yourself to the brochures and enjoy the coffee table books. This is just showing you a map of Ireland, the larger yellow part, Republic of Ireland, and then the northern part, much smaller. And on the second trip, we went to both. On the first trip, we flew into Shannon International Airport at Limerick. And I love flying in there because it was so easy. It's quite small. It was like what our Greensboro Airport used to be like. And on the other trip, we flew in and out of Dublin, and it's considerably larger. My first impressions with the 2 bus drivers, Michael we had on earlier trips, so we knew him, and he's not a Quaker, but he fit right in. And Elwood made him feel very comfortable. As Max was saying this morning, they still have a class system over there in England. And, you know, Elwood just made Michael feel like one of us. And on the second trip, we had Dermot, and he was our bus driver for 2018. He was unknown to us, but he was just fine. He recited poetry to us, and he spoke some Gaelic. At the end of the first day, he told our leaders, we were such peaceful people. We were, of course, all Quakers, and I have something special story about him later. Irish people to be very friendly. On the 2000 trip, all of us were wearing these little name tags that said QP 2000, which stood for Quaker Pilgrimage 2000. So that was a curiosity for some that we met. I found people equally friendly in the Republic of Ireland and in Northern Ireland. This went for just folks we met on the street, servers, as well as the Quakers with whom we interacted. And the Quakers, I just can't say enough about how gracious they were. So eager to share their history with us, to tour us around their properties, to extend hospitality in the form of a tea or a meal. But it was a slower pace over in Ireland. First you have the sheep and then you have the cattle. So the first thing I want to do is some of the places we went, and some of these places will be places that you've been. This just happened to be the first place we went, which was Burrtown House and Gardens on the 2018 trip. And some of you know I love giraffes. So of course I had to get a picture of these giraffes. This is my roommate, Martha Dentiste, and she's here today. And this little giraffe was just a little too large to bring home for my collection. This is somewhere where many of you probably have been. It's kind of first thing on the tour guide. It was the first thing we did both tours. It's the Cliffs of Moher. They're sea cliffs that are located at the edge of the Burren region of County Clare, Ireland, run for about 9 miles. And you can see the Aran Islands, the Galway Bay, and the mountain ranges from here. And they rank as one of the most visited tourist sites in Ireland. They are a rock face of layers of shale and sandstone, and they make great perches and ledges for the seabirds. And in all these cases, photographs, mine or professional, don't do it justice. This is the Burren, consists of rocky limestone pavement and also other types of habitats, including grasslands, woodland, and shrub. This is what you really go for, and what's really stunning are the wildflowers. Now this is what we found in 2018, what a surprise. The Cliffs of Moher had a new visitor center to the tune of 21 million euro. Everything was much more commercial than when we visited in 2000. Those of us who had seen this previously were divided as to whether the visitor center enhanced our experience. It was built into the mountain, and other shops had arrived to also take care of the numerous tourists. You'll see throughout this program the changes from 2000 to 2018. This is where we stayed. It's called the Woodlands House Hotel in Adair. And the breakfast room there served as a bar at night. They just kind of, pushed all the tables aside and it was bar. You know about that, Elwood, right? Okay, Adair is really just a charming little village. It reminds you a lot of the Cotswolds because of the thatch roofs. Really sweet. We were in Limerick both first nights of the trip, so I came prepared with limericks for everyone on both trips. As it turned out, I learned that an esteemed Quaker, D. Elton Trueblood, was a fan of limericks, as his son and daughter-in-law were on our first trip in 2000. So here's the one I wrote for my mother in 2000. She had been to that first trip to England, so I called it a repeat performance. A lover of lambs and the sheep, and the name's not Little Bo Peep. It's Margaret, of course, I'm sure she'd endorse. With bye, we really can't sleep. And Kate and I had a real experience with that in England. We had a place that we were staying up in the Lake District, and we were hearing these lambs, and you could hardly cut it out. And then next door to us was somebody who really snored. And between those two things, it was just, and of course, here's these two grown women just giggling like crazy because we couldn't sleep. And this is mine from the other one. I had, of course, been to Ireland, and we were going to see a lot of the same things, except that this new trip in 2018 included Northern Ireland. So then Martha Dentiste called me, and she said she would like to room together. Well, that just made my decision. So here's my limerick from that trip. A return to the land of green. Gertrude advised on the trip. The journey sounded blue chip. Then Martha would call, and that said it all. This excursion she would skip. Now these are puffins. They're really, this is of course an illustration, but they look about like this. There are a lot of these little puffins on the cliffs of Moher, and they were a little on the messy side. So one of the people on the trip, a couple hosses, made me this limerick. A young Irish puffin named Clancy, on the cliffs of Moher he met Nancy. They were happy, those two, on their rock slick with poo, and an odor that wasn't too fancy. These people that go on these trips, they're clever. And this is Kinsale. Of course, this is a photograph of it. It's one of the prettiest little towns in Ireland. I don't think we went there on the second trip, but we went on the first trip. And you can tell this is a wealthy little community because there's all the yachts in the harbor. Now this is a castle we went to both trips, Bunratty Castle. It's a 15th century castle. It's called the most complete in Ireland, and it's actually a castle and a folk park. And of course, that folk park had become a little more much in 2018. This is the Great Hall, and they have medieval banquets there. We learned that William Penn was at one time at Bunratty. It's a major tourist attraction. And the castle has been completely restored and refurbished according to historical accuracy. This is Mother and me on that first trip. We had matching coats so I could keep up with her. And this is something, when I find something for my scrapbook, it finds its way into the scrapbook and to the PowerPoint. And the little caption says, come on, in or out. These are something we saw in 2018 called the Beehive Huts. They were home to the Augustinian order of monks who lived between 6th and 13th centuries. They are ancient dry stone huts with corbelled roofs, primarily found on Ireland's Dingle Peninsula. And that, if you haven't been to the Dingle Peninsula, try to go. I purchased this bracelet there with Connemara marble and amethyst. And thankfully, Marcy Reed Smith put it back together because it had fallen apart in those years. Now this is Blarney Castle. Most people know about Blarney Castle whether you've been to Ireland or not, because you hear the expression, well, that's all just Blarney. And it taught that aims to charm and flatter or persuade, and kissing the Blarney stone is said to give you the gift of gab. And this is just another view of it. It's very green there, at least it was very green when we were there. And this shows you how you get to hang backwards to actually kiss the Blarney stone. And a lot of people know about kissing the Blarney stone. That's the position you have to be in to give it a kiss. We had one young woman on the earlier trip. She was one of our youngest people, and she had a great sense of humor. She went up and kissed Blarney stone. Then we had a little skit later, and she brought some antiseptic to tell about how she had kissed the Blarney stone. But here's Mother and me. We blew it a kiss. She was doing well just to be on this trip, having surgery early that summer. And I brought this waistcoat, vest, they call it waistcoat, we call it vest, at the Blarney Cotton Mill. So And this was bought on the 2000 trip, and it's still in good shape. Since I had been to the Blarney Castle in 2000, I spent part of my time here in 2018. And I think Pat and I went and got Pat's haircut there too. I would just say that just like the Cliffs of Moher, this has become much more commercialized in 18 years. Now we went to the Dingle Peninsula. Here again, these photographs just don't do it justice. That was just a gorgeous place. Thank you, Ed, for taking us there. Another one of the Dingle Peninsula. And this is Inch Beach. It's a 3.5 mile sandy beach on the Dingle Peninsula in County Kerry, Ireland, known for its stunning views and surfing. I remember the day we were there were just lots of people there doing all kinds of recreations. Is Diane here? Let's see. That was Diane Powell. And here's Martha, my exuberant roommate. She was 82 at the time we took the trip. That's seeming younger and younger these days to me, but I was still in my 60s. She could run circles around me. So we walked down to the Marina Inn, a pub, for dinner where they had live music. And Martha, my pretty roommate, got up and danced. She said, "Do you have the video?" I said, "No, I don't have the video today." There was a woman sitting at the bar, and she pulled the woman down and started dancing with her. When they were done, I told the woman she was 82. The woman said, "Well, good on her." So the person we heard there was named Declan McTaggart, and I have his CD, and you are about to hear it.
In County Down, one morning last July, down a bowling green came a sweet Colleen. As she smiled, she passed me by. She looked so neat from her to her feet, to the shiver in her brown hair. She'll be coaxing off, I'll shake myself. To make sure I'm standing there on my deep end. See
when we were there, Rudy and Lou were with us, and DeClan only had a left-handed guitar. So he was offering Rudy, but Rudy plays a right-handed guitar like most people. So the next morning, we went to the Caher Castle, and again, I had seen this. It does have many Quaker connections, as most of the Quakers were engaged working in the mills. And I'm a little of you've seen them all, castle people, so I wasn't that crazy about going the second time. But there's the inside of it, the interior of it. And it was built from 1142. It's in the county Tipperary. It's well preserved, has a guided tour, audiovisual shows in multiple languages. And there's the outside of it again. Now, I didn't climb all around this thing, but my mother did. And I think I headed for a souvenir shop. Now this is Grafton Street in Dublin, and it looks just like this. It's so crowded. And there's one with it a little less crowded, but it's still. And the thing was, even the first trip with our guide and good maps, we spent most of the time lost. But we did find this place. I don't find many places that are named for me, so Mother and I had to get there and have a picture. And there's the Temple Bar. Many people have heard of the Temple Bar, another famous spot in Dublin. Second trip, thanks Ed, we got here to Trinity College. And Trinity College is the home of the Book of Kells, which is the illuminated manuscript of the Gospels, perhaps done by Irish monks in Iona, 8th or 9th century, and now kept at the Trinity College in Dublin. That was interesting. They explained how they turned the pages so that, and it was fairly low light in there, but so that nothing would be exposed for very long. But this was what I found more interesting, was after we got done looking at the manuscripts, we went upstairs to their library where they had the scholarly collection. At the end of each stack, they had these busts of famous literary folks and philosophers, and I just really loved that. And to me, it was a little more interesting than the manuscripts. First trip, we took this Stena Line ferry to Wales, and that was the end of the first trip, and we ended up going to Wales, Scotland, and England, mostly historical sites. But this is on the second trip. This is Carrick Reedy Rope Bridge in Ballintoy, County Antrim, in Northern Ireland. Spans 66 feet, 98 feet above the rocks below. Now we just saw this, we didn't go on this, we saw it, and it's maintained by the National Trust. There's another picture of it. You can see why I wouldn't want to go on it. It reminded me of the Grandfather Mountain Swinging Bridge. This is, on July 12th, we drove into Belfast, and this was Belfast City Hall. And of all things, it was Orangeman's Day, which commemorates the 1690 protest victory over Roman Catholic forces, the Battle of Wyoming in Ireland. It's a national holiday. Because there were parades, we were advised that foreigners should remain in their hotel rooms. We heard lots of noise. We did know of one couple in our group that did not follow directions. This was the tour of the Troubles. We piled into taxi cabs for this tour. There were plenty of murals that remained from the conflict. The Troubles were a violent ethno-nationalistic conflict in Northern Ireland from the 60s to 1998. So most of our lives, we really couldn't go into Northern Ireland. It caused 3,500 deaths and ended with the 1998 Good Friday Agreement. We did get to sign the peace law, and we were invited to do that. The conflict was rooted in competing national identities, long-standing political, social, and historical grievances. The divide was between the Unionists or Loyalists, mostly Protestant, who wanted Northern Ireland to remain part of the United Kingdom, and Nationalist Republicans, mostly Catholic, who sought a united Ireland. Now this is something we saw while we were over there, and it was funny because right about that same time, they were getting a trolley in downtown Greensboro. Basically, this was a way for young people to ride through town, drinking as they went, and they were plenty exuberant. I did not feel in danger at all being in Belfast. I felt fine being there. Now, this is a place that we saw kind of on our way into Northern Ireland. This is Dunluce Castle. It's a now ruined castle of the Clan MacQuillan. It's on the edge of a basalt outcropping in County Antrim, and it's accessible via a bridge connecting it to the mainland. There's an aerial view of it. And here's a view of us. Myself on the end, and Lou's friend, and then Pat, Ed's wife, and then Martha, and then the last person that's tall, that's Sarah White. This is one of the places we went. It's called Rune of Bugnier, a New Grange prehistoric site. I had seen in the newspapers right at this time that we were in Ireland that there had been a new discovery of a 5,500-year-old megalithic tomb, described by archaeologists as the find of a lifetime. Evidently, this is quite the place at particular times of the year. Folks enter a lottery for which they have had applications to be among those who would gather there for the winter solstice in December. We were there in, July? Yeah. Okay, it's not a Quaker tour without meeting houses. So this is the one at Mount Mellick. The Mount Mellick one is in ruins. And it used to be the most important Quaker center in Ireland outside of Dublin. But one reason we went there was because the cemetery there is where William Edmondson is buried, and that is somebody who's important to Quakerism and was an ancestor of somebody on the trip. So it's now turned into a now even defunct youth center. This is Ballatory Meeting House, and the library and the Quaker Museum are in this restored property. This is Carolyn, myself in front of there, and there's an interior shot. Now this is Limerick. We worshiped at Limerick meeting on both trips. We only had but 2 Sundays, maybe 3 Sundays on the other trip. You walk through the old cemetery to get to the meeting house. You see there's Charlie Cameron, they're on the edge, and a woman is talking to us about the meeting and about the cemetery. And there's where you walk into the actual meeting area. It was designed by one of their members, so that's a really good thing when you can get a Quaker designer. That's what we had when we built New Garden Friends meeting. They understand more what you want in a Quaker meeting room. And that's the interior. All very simple. All of these meetings except one I'm going to tell you about are unprogrammed. This is Cork Meeting House. We had lunch there on that first trip. And there's the interior of Cork. This is Waterford Friends Meeting. And this is where Charlie White found one of his relatives. And Newtown Friends Meeting. And the Newtown School. We were given a tour of the school, the meeting, the grounds, including the cemetery, and Charlie White found one of his ancestors' graves. Roger Johnson, who was a former principal of the school and a member of Waterford meeting, toured us around both places. And this is our group photo taken at Newtown, and I can pick out some people in the picture. I see Charlie kind of leaning down, but most everybody else is kind of looking at the camera. This is Euston, a street meeting in Central City, Dublin. We didn't go in, we just wanted to see if we could find it. Now, we're in Northern Ireland. The other 2 meetings we're going to talk about are in Northern Ireland, except for one I'll tell you about at the very end. This is Lugain meeting. It's L-U-R-G-A-N, but pronounced Lugain. We met these people and this meeting for tea and a little history lesson on a Sunday. But we were going to go worship at a different meeting. The man who spoke to us had been to Greensboro for the International Young Friends Conference in Greensboro, North Carolina in the summer of 1953. So you know he had a little age on him. We had refreshments here, and the folks here, they were all ancient. Just every one of them was real old. So anyway, they lined up outside on that little ramp looking thing, and they waved us goodbye. It was so sweet, and you know, we just hardly wanted to leave after that. But we were headed to this other meeting house, which was Grange meeting. And this is where we had meeting for worship. They had a variety of ages, and they were more able to host us for lunch. And they pulled out all the stops. They appreciated musical offerings by Gus and Carol Cothran from our group. They offered us a tour following the meeting. And at the meeting for worship, we were in for a little bit of a surprise because it was more semi-program like we have at New Garden than it was unprogrammed. We met in their new meeting house, built in 1816. And we had lunch in their old meeting house, built in 1756. After lunch, a woman commented that she so enjoyed hearing Gus sing and asked him to sing some other hymns. He sang Morning Has Broken, Blessed Assurance, All Things Bright and Beautiful. And then with his mother, he sang, Here I Am, Lord, that they had sung in meeting a couple weeks before. So instead of a meeting that was in the silent tradition, we found a meeting that loved music and was near to our pattern of music. And now I'm going to share what I shared for Vespers last week actually too, but this is Be Thou My Vision. It's a traditional Irish Christian hymn originating from a 6th century poem and later translated into English, set to the Irish tune of Slain. You'll find a lot of hymns and other music is picked up from some other, sometimes drinking songs, folk tunes. It's a personal favorite of mine, and this is by the choir of Paisley Abbey in Scotland. you're gonna go on a trip with me, you're gonna hear about food and drink. Because that's something I pay a lot of attention to, and I try to then duplicate it when I get back home. So this is what typical Irish or English breakfast would look like. And the interesting thing about that is the thing that looks like ham or Canadian bacon, that's what they are putting off as bacon. It's not like when I went to New Zealand and got my regular bacon, which they call streaky bacon, but this is their bacon, which is like a Canadian bacon. But you know, I don't eat breakfast here at home, but if you're gonna be touring all day long, you need to eat a good breakfast. This is a green barn where we ate on the second trip. It's a walled salad, the best meal I had on this whole trip. I replicated this salad and other foods for a party when I returned to Greensboro. It has lettuce, beets, walnuts, and goat cheese. It's just delicious. This is something we've had here at friends' homes called cannon. Irish potato recipe. Usually it has, for St. Patrick's Day, it has mashed potatoes and usually kale or cabbage. Very typical of England or Ireland. Fish and chips. The chips are French fries. The potato chips are crisps. This is one of my favorite meals, which was a lamb with brown gravy. I'll take lamb any way I can get it. These are roasted potatoes, just like they make in England. I discovered these in 1992 on my first trip to England, and you know, I spent time trying to figure out how they were made, how you could get them crisp on the outside. And I found the secret in a great British cooking book, which was that once you cut potatoes, you douse them with flour, and the flour is what makes them crisp. Now I can make them just like the English and the Irish. This was the potato salad that we had at Grange meeting, and I chased down the recipe. It had carrots, and here was its secret ingredient. This Heinz salad cream, which has a little more vinegar than our mayonnaise does. We learned about it, and you can get it at the World Market. We were told it's about to undergo a change because they're going to call it Heinz sandwich cream to appeal to the younger generation. Now this is on the first trip, and my mother has her eye on something. And note there's Ellen and Elwood in the back of that picture. You see yourselves? So here's what Mother had her eye on. My mother had the biggest sweet tooth of anybody I've ever known. And note that they have the bowl of cream there for topping these desserts if they're not decadent enough as they are. Now this was at Grange meeting. A woman made us pavlova. I told you, they pulled out all the stops for us. And another woman made us soda bread, and she made us wheaten bread. And I have tried to make this, and it is not as easy as it looks. But Pat Tweedy knew how to do it. She made excellent soda bread. Now this was one of my favorites. It's called Bailey's Blush. And I managed to get the recipe from the barmaid. It's a concoction of strawberry puree, Bailey Irish cream, cream de cacao, cream, and sugar. You can't miss. There's your little advertisement for Bailey's. There I am. I look happy and I haven't had my first sip. Now this, hello Martha. She loves this. This is sticky toffee pudding. And I made this once we got home. It's a sticky date pudding, beloved by the British, but served in Ireland as well. It's a soft, moist sponge made with finely chopped dates and a luscious toffee sauce poured on the top. This one looks like it's loaded up with ice cream too. But it's more like a cake than a pudding. It's just really decadent. So I wanted to share my unforgettable experiences. This is the first one, which was Cool Park. It's C-O-O-L-E, but pronounced just Cool Park. This was on the 2018 trip. We were headed to the cliffs some more, but our bus driver had other ideas. He decided he would like us to go to Cool Park, which is a nature preserve and formerly the home of Lady Gregory, who was the co-founder of the Abbey Theater with William Butler Yeats. This guy was very educated. That's the little building there. And there's Yeats and Lady Gregory. One of the things of particular interest there was a walled garden which contains an autograph tree engraved with the initials of such as William Butler Yeats, George Bernard Shaw, Sean Casey. There's another picture of it. And there's our group down there in the park. So after we visited there, he decides he's going to take us to Yeats Tower also, where Yeats had lived. And then a professor friend of his gave us information on Yeats. So, you know, poor Ed, he has us planning to go to Cliffs of Moher, but we've got this bus driver that's taking us elsewhere. The folks here made us tea and we had raisin bread. I mean, we were impromptu. They didn't know we were coming. So anyway, a few people climbed the tower, but all this was serendipity. And there was inside where we had our raisin bread. So Ireland has just lots of fine writers. Yeats is just one. But, you know, you could go and you could study Irish writers forever. Now this is Foyne's Flying Boat Museum. And this was something Ed knew about. This is in Limerick. They have a replica flying boat and radio room in the original terminal building, plus a maritime museum. We got to go inside that boat. And here's the connection. The actress Maureen O'Hara was a patron of the museum because she was married to one of the boat pilots. Now we didn't see this, but they were expecting to add a lot of her clothing and personal effects the year after we visited, and I got a picture off the internet and you can see where they've done that. We'll have to go back in, see that again. At the Foynes Museum, they teach everyone how to make original Irish coffee with the Bailey's Irish cream. So, we sent Lou up to be our guinea pig, and she did a wonderful job. I don't drink coffee, but I tried a sip, and the Baileys seemed to improve the coffee. Now, this is Waterford Crystal. That's a wonderful, wonderful factory tour. The tour had improved so much from when I was there in 2000. But we did get a pretty handsome picture out of that 2000 tour. That's my mother and me and Carol Hunter and Edith Ruth, who was a relative of Charlie Ruth by marriage. So here's some of the fascinating things we saw in the second year in 2018. A Coke bottle. This was a commissioned piece for a retirement gift for the CEO of Coke. The thing is, when they make a piece for something special, commissioned piece, they make a duplicate. And so the museum keeps a duplicate. A phonograph, we don't know the history of that, but it was attractive. This is a memorial piece of the Twin Towers. This is a piano. Now they didn't say who it was for, but we thought maybe Elton John. And this is a Waterford crystal bowl of shamrock presented to President Obama at their St. Patrick's Day celebration in 17. The design is inspired by He Wishes for the Cloth of Heaven by Yeats. This was my favorite museum. It's a Titanic museum in Belfast. I know we're going or have been to the one in Charlotte, but you know, after I've been to this one, this was the end all. Some of you know I was formerly in the museum field before I worked for Guilford. This was without a doubt the best museum I've ever seen. It was opened in 2012, so we were just there 6 years after it opened. I've always been interested in the Titanic because I heard Robert Ballard, who found the Titanic, as part of the Brian series. And this is a monument to Belfast's maritime heritage, because the Titanic was built right at this site. So they have built various parts of the ship so you can see the opulence. And a dining area. And here's my favorite souvenir of the trip. RSM Titanic dinner is served. It it tells what they would have eaten steerage, what they would have eaten on the very fanciest levels. It's very interesting. And then this band plays on is another one of my favorite souvenirs. This man, Christopher Ward, wrote the story of his grandfather, who was the 21-year-old violinist in the orchestra, playing as the ship sank on April 15, 1912. This is another place Ed took us, which was just wonderful. It's called the Giant's Causeway, and photographs do not do this place justice at all. It is all natural, though it looks like it could be man-made. It's an area of 40,000 interlocking basalt columns as a result of an ancient volcanic explosion. There, you can kind of see it there, but still, I mean, you have to see it to believe it. And there, people are climbing around on it, and our group did too. I did not, but you know, I'm chicken. I wasn't even using a rollator back then. This is Beal's Oriental Cafe. That's on Grafton Street in Dublin, and this is a place I really wanted to go because the Beals trace their roots to the Quaker tea and coffee importers who arrived in Ireland in the 17th century. Samuel Beal and his sons began importing tea from China, and by the 1926 it had become Beal's Oriental Cafe. Now this is, you know, kind of a typical, you know, soup and salad or soup and sandwich, you know, fare, which was very good. But here was my big mistake. I didn't save room for dessert, and I really regret that. So here's how the trip becomes full circle for me. You may recognize this person. She was a Iowa Quaker, actually born in Kansas, but Iowa is where she lived most of her life. Her name is Iola Powell Cadwallader. I got to know her when we produced the musical I Take Thee Serenity in 1989. She and her husband Eves lived in Iowa in Oskaloosa, where I visited several times. She eventually just about adopted me. In 2018, I was telling her I was going to Ireland, and she proceeded to tell me that her late niece lived in Ireland. Then she told me her name. The niece was Maxine Von Lamb. And guess what? I went diving for my 2000 scrapbook because the lady in the foreground is none other than Maxine Von Lamb. We met her husband in 2000. And she was responsible for this delicious luncheon that we're enjoying in this picture. And you might notice one over is Yoshiko Parkhurst. You see her? She's got her hands to her mouth. So anyway, Maxine was the daughter of Iola's eldest sister. So they grew up as kind of contemporaries. And the niece grew up in Plains, Kansas, went to Friends University in Wichita. And this was the place where we had that luncheon, Swanbrook House. It was a Friends Historical Library. We had a lecture there afterwards. Now, back to the story. Iola connected me with Maxine's brother-in-law and his wife, Charles and Marge. And I think we have some people here who know them. We met them at Limerick. They drove in from Dublin to Limerick to be with us at the Friends meeting. Charles is Irish, but then Marge grew up in Ohio as Marjorie Ann Hall. So see, both of these brothers, Edmund and Charles, married women from the States. So he's the brother-in-law of Iola's late niece, Maxine. And Marge graduated from Olney Friends School. Many of you heard of Olney Friends School in Ohio. And she met Charles at a quarterly meeting in Northern Ireland in 1971. Whoops. Missed one. I missed more than one, I think. No, okay. This is a photo of me with them at Limerick meeting. And they helped to connect me with their nephew, Alvin, who of course is also Iola's great nephew. So this is a picture of the last day in Ireland when we finally did meet Alvin. Alvin's on the end and his wife's on the other end. And Gus and Carol in the picture as well. And Iola had told me that the Lamb family had been involved with the Lamb Brothers Fruit Farms in Dublin. And it was a significant horticultural and farm enterprise in the 20th century. It's now closed. And when they closed the Lamb Fruit Farm, they gave the land to the Friends Meeting. And part of the land is also a housing development. Well, on the trip, Antoinette, the nephew's wife, had brought me this homemade blackcurrant jam. And this is how the story became full circle, because she made this herself, but it was reminiscent of the Lamb Brothers jam. And when I got home with it, I sent part of it to Iola, my friend, who had jam from her nephew all the way from Ireland. Now here's the second part of the full circle story. Well, come on. There we go. This is the second part. Guess where Edwin Lamb and Maxine Von Lamb met? Yes, right here at Guilford College, at that same Young Friends Conference in 1953 that we mentioned earlier. Their meetings would have been held in this building, which is formerly the meeting house and now houses Guilford College administration. When I returned to Greensboro, I sent the younger Lambs a little thank you gift, and one thing was a little keychain of Guilford College where his parents met. Thank you to Mary Wallace for your assistance and for inviting me to relive my memories of Ireland. I would say grab yourself a pint of Guinness on your way out, but this is Friends Homes after all, and it's not even happy hour. But pretend you're there, and you're there in an Irish pub on the Dingle Peninsula in County Kerry. We'll end with Wild Rover, a recording by the Motley Tones, and this was an English broadside ballad and one of the most recognizable Irish folk songs.
I've been a wild rover for many a year, and I spent all my money on whiskey and beer. And now I'm returning with golden brick stars, and I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no day never, no day never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more.
song stuck in our heads for the rest of the week, probably. Are we up for any questions if we have any?
Sure, Ed's here.
Ed, she's volunteering you wherever you are. Oh, you're right here in front of me. Oh, the music is still playing in the back. Oh, I see a question in the back.
Hi, I was just in Ireland in June, and one of the things that surprised me was in the pubs, I thought that the musicians would be these old guys with the hats and the pipes and everything. It was mostly young people. Did you see older people and younger people, or?
I saw mostly younger people. Yeah, but of course now they'd be older.
Not that much. I mean, we saw young kids like high school age, and they were very proficient.
I was just there last month, and for about 3 weeks, and I'll agree with you, most of the people in the pubs were, young people, and the young group, and there were some older people there too, who I'm sure had gone all their lives. The biggest change I ever saw in the pubs was when Ireland, well ahead of us, banned smoking in all public places. The first time I went, I thought, why are the walls so clear? Why can I see the pictures on the wall?
Yeah.
Because all the smoke had gone.
One thing that I found very different from one time to the other was when we went into the pubs with you in 2018, a lot of the pubs had little cafeteria lines in the back. So they were really making hay for the lunch business as well, but we didn't see that in the earlier trip.
They had they call it a carvery, but they just have like a little buffet line.
I was surprised at that. It was very good. It was a nice touch, you know. But you usually think of going to pubs later in the day, but we were often there for lunch, and you could just go through this little cafeteria line, just like a little K&W.
And I'm sure most of you know this, but the pubs in Ireland and England are really, they're really social places. They're places for people to get together. I mean, I've known people in Ireland who, for whatever reason, religion, personal health, beliefs, whatever, wouldn't drink a drop of alcohol, but they still go to the pubs all the time and enjoy being there. And you know, and we have a bad stereotype of pubs just having to do with booze and with alcohol, but that's not true. They're really a social gathering place. You know?
And they're somewhat family friendly too.
Yeah.
I remember seeing children there.
Oh yeah, they let kids in. I mean, the kids, the whole families can come in, you can bring the kids and buy alcohol in there, you know, no problem.
I hope this inspires some of you to go. I know I have one couple that's going soon, and hope you'll enjoy going to some of the same places I went.
Any other questions?
And if I can, but whoever she mentioned is going, if I can answer any questions, I'll give you any tips, anything, I'll be glad to talk to you, no problem.
I can't remember when I went, but it was with my daughter, and it was in the 1900s, I think. And she lived in London at the time, and I flew over and met her, and we got on the ferry and went from, I can't remember the name of the place, but it was a ferry over to Dublin. And all night they were singing patriotic Irish songs. All night they were sleeping on the floor. We had a booth that we sat in, and there was a guy across from us who was kind of crazy. And we just put our raincoats over our head and tried to go to sleep. And we got to Ireland, and it was on a Sunday, and there was nobody there. And because it was Sunday morning, and except the car rental place was open. So we rented a car. We didn't get to go anywhere else in Dublin. because most things were closed. But we went on our trip and my daughter drove the car. I said, no way, I'm gonna drive on the left side.
Thanks for sharing your experience.
All right. If there are no other questions, one more round of applause for Gertrude. Thank you again. And I'm